Next item is item 4A, which is discussion and possible action related to the authorization to enter negotiations with one firm for the Margate City Center development. Bring forth the developer agreement.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to invite Brooke Mosier from Colliers up to the podium to give us a brief presentation of the summary that they've
Yes.
prepared that kind of side by sides the firms. So Brooke, Mark, welcome.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, board members. Thank you for having us here today. My name is Brooke Mosier, Vice President with Colliers International. I'm joined with my colleagues, Mark Rubin, Bashan Shower, and Jared Mann. We're thrilled to be here to discuss the exciting future of Margate City Center. To provide a brief recap, we began this journey last October. The city hired Colliers to solicit proposals from the developers interested in partnering with the city for the development of Margate's future downtown. After a comprehensive marketing process, we received 6 bids. The board then shortlisted firms, and in December, we heard presentations from Brookfield Properties, Michael's organization, and the Related Group. Since that meeting, the board has had the opportunity to tour several of their projects and meet one-on-one with the proposers, giving each of you valuable insight into the partner that you will be selecting. The summary we've prepared is based on the submissions presented at the December meeting. The financial scenarios you'll see on the next slide are also derived from these numbers. Each group has heard your feedback, and I'm confident that once a partner is selected, all of the teams will collaborate closely with the city to develop a customized project that aligns with your vision and goals. Brookfield, based out of New York, had a potential civic component, 40,000 square feet of retail, 844,660 square feet of residential, and about 911 units. Michael's organization, based out of Camden, New Jersey, had a civic component of 65,000 square feet, 2.2 million square feet of retail, 2.5 million square feet of residential, and about 2,200 apartments and 158 townhomes. And Related Group had about 80,000 square feet of a civic component, 87,000 square feet of retail, 696,000 square feet of residential, and 800 units. And once again, these aren't their final plans. This is just what was presented at the last meeting for us to talk about today. Now I'll hand it over to Mark.
Good evening. Mark Rubin with Colliers. As Brooke mentioned, each group submitted different programs. They use different methodologies. Therefore, these numbers are estimates and everything is subject to change. Ultimately, once you select a partner, arrive at a development plan that works for everybody, these numbers will all adjust. But just to give some context, basically, Brookfield Properties proposed a 99-year ground lease with a $100,000 base ground lease payment. And then as they moved into operations, they offered 3.25% of the income, effective gross income. And then as they moved to phase 2, they increased that percentage to 5.25%. And then in phase 3, they continued on with that 5.25%. The Michael's organization said that they would work with the city to negotiate land lease payments for the multifamily housing. We'll also negotiate a percentage of the revenue for the retail and entertainment proportion of the project. And they have a partnership with a Provident Resources Group to provide bonds for the civic infrastructure and attainable housing portions of the project. And ultimately, they did not submit any detailed ground lease payments, but did suggest that they would work on that behalf. The Related Group offered $100,000 per year, payable quarterly, with 5% increases every 5 years, plus 50% of all retail net operating income. Sure.
If you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay.
So for example, on Brookfield's, for the revenue sharing, they're offering it based on the effective gross income of phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So that's the entire project. And then you have Related Group at just 50% of the net operating income for just retail.
Correct.
And not the housing component of it.
That's what was submitted, correct?
Okay, I don't know if I ask you or the developers, but are these also subject to change, or is this that their specific modeling? Like, for example, would a related group do for the effective gross income of the entire project, or are they firm on just the NOI of the retail?
I think that's a question directly for the developer. What I can tell you from our perspective is that once the city council decides on a developer, Colliers would work with the city to negotiate the most favorable ground lease provisions to incorporate, stuff that we see in our regular course of business. And so that's, I don't think that any of these are final. But if you have specific questions about them, I think those are best addressed by the proposer.
Sure. Yeah, no, I understand that we'll be negotiating this during the developers agreement, but I don't want to select someone if they're not flexible. So I'd rather just tell us now instead of going down the road and then finding out later. That's, out of the question.
Sure.
I don't want to be yes to everything. We can't do it, or we can't do it, tell me you can't do it.
Okay. Gail, is that something we can?
I'll leave it to the board's discretion, but if you'd like, we can have the Colliers team finish their presentation and then
sorry.
we can invite each developer up for, a 10-minute question and answer or presentation from them.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah, board member
Thank you.
Sarah, we just don't want to speak
Sure.
for
No,
them.
I
We-
understand completely.
Yeah,
Especially when they're sitting here.
absolutely. So I just was going to review some overall numbers. Basically, based on the different programs and the different estimates, total project costs for Brookfield were estimated around $300 million. Michael's did not provide a total estimate, and related group was about $265 million. They both presented us with stabilized financials, which was both in year 8, both Brookfield and related, that showed an annual ground rent payment of about $1.6 million for Brookfield, and then $1.7 million and a quarter for related group. Ultimately, if you look at the total ground rent payments that they were set to present to the city based on these proposals, you had a total of about $800 million ground rent payments total for Brookfield and about $606 million for related group. They both then, on top of that, added impact fees and total benefits in terms of taxation to the city. These should be pretty much equalized, but they used, since their programs are a little bit different and they use different ways of estimating what the future values were, you can see that there's Brookfield's numbers were about impact fees about 10 million, whereas relateds were 7.5 million. The total tax revenues, Brookfield estimated almost $1.4 billion, whereas related was about 625 million. And they use different methodologies here. We had gone back to ask for clarification because there was such a discrepancy. And I think, it's really hard to figure out what the future value of real estate is. And so I think it was just different methodologies that compounded over 99 years based on the millage rates that they used and the estimated future values, which caused that significant difference. But ultimately, I guess the conclusion is, both of them were offering up, attractive ground leases that, subject to some questions and negotiations that will yield the city with substantial financial benefits in the future. With that, we wanted to really focus. Gotta pull it. Different, strengths and weaknesses, but again, that's very subjective, and, a weakness could be viewed as a strength or a weakness. But I think what we wanted to present was really what I think, Chair Cagliano said at the beginning, which is we've been blessed to have three very, very strong developers who have a proven track record, who are financially strong, who have local market experience and understand, and who seem to, be flexible in their ultimate goal of creating a win-win that provides a lucrative downtown that works for the residents, that also works for the city. And with that, I wanted to just hand it back to Brooke because she's going to talk about, what we think are the criteria, right, when the city council looks at what's important in selecting a partner.
Thank you, Mark. As the board contemplates a potential development partner, it is essential to carefully assess a range of key factors to ensure the selection of the most qualified candidate. The following considerations will guide the decision-making process and help you identify the group that's best positioned to meet the city's objective and long-term vision. Development team experience. You want to look for a team that has experience in developing mixed-use projects, experience working with municipalities, the financial capacity to fund the project, key personnel, and the development team. The project development and design, the project's ability to activate the city, which is something that we all want to happen. The thoughtful mix of uses, the quality of design and construction, density of the project, a realistic project timeline, flexibility of the design, the financial plan and impact, the development financial feasibility and financial structure, the general understanding of the underwriting and the proposed deal structure to the city, a new municipal complex, integration into the overall development plan, and experience with public administrative headquarters. We'd like to extend a thank you to Brookfield, Michaels, and Related Group for their participation in this process. We're all very enthusiastic about the opportunities that lie ahead for the city of Margate. Once we select a developer this evening, we look forward to collaborating with the chosen partner to refine the project, ensuring it aligns with the board's goals. Following this, we will begin negotiations for a long-term lease and a development agreement, which will ultimately be brought back before you for approval. Now, we'd like to ask each group, we'll give them around 5 to 10 minutes for questions and answers for them to speak, and that's it.
Let's start with related.
Matt Flowers, Related Group. Great to see all of you again. Brooke, Mark, thank you guys. So nice to see you again. We toured several of you through our Manor Miramar project and City Place Doral. Through those tours and discussions and through the last meeting, I think we had a chance to try to understand a little better what you were looking for and how you see this project. Our first submittal, we were going in blind. Colliers did a great job of kind of setting it up, but hearing each of your perspectives gave us a little more clarity on what you wanted. And so we submitted a revised proposal a month ago, a couple weeks ago, which I think, if our first proposal, you guys probably thought was maybe, 5 out of 10. Hopefully this one's 7 or 8. And with additional feedback from you, hopefully we can get to a 10 together. We're very flexible, both in terms of the plan, and we're financially flexible in terms of how we structure the lease and what's important to the city in terms of revenue sharing or just, straight lease payments, however you want. On the way up here, we passed, I would say, probably a dozen or so projects that we're building ourselves. And each one of them had a little different structure, a little different product type, and different municipalities that all kind of want different things. And we see the city as our partner here a little more than normal, as we'll be a long-term partner in the lease and City Hall and all that good stuff. So happy to answer any more questions about our new plan. Anything else?
Well, you answered one of my questions, so I appreciate that. For the time being, I don't have any more questions. Just on a comment, I enjoyed touring the Manor project.
Thank you.
It was top notch. And, I'm a real estate broker. I deal with a lot of luxury rentals. I'm always taking people, prospective tenants, and it was one of the nicer complexes that I've seen. So I appreciate that product. I would expect something like that here. And also I appreciate the effort on the unsolicited revision that you sent in. It just shows that your ability to adapt and work quickly. And, I think even though it was sent electronically, I think it just shows the value of being.
We wanted
I
to be
appreciate you
respectful. Yeah, thank you. We couldn't help
providing that.
ourselves. We're excited.
And within that, you did listen, I think, to all of us. I don't think all of us up here at the end of the day are gonna get everything that we want. I always say if I get 70% of my goal on this project, I'll be happy. But I know, for instance, one of my big things, aside from the aesthetics, was keeping the entertainment portion in one area. So people aren't crossing the four
Mhm.
corners of the 441 and Margate Boulevard.
Mhm.
And it's, it creates a center gathering place, kind of like how Doral had, now, I don't like the whole concept of Doral, but I like how the entertainment was all in one hub.
Sure.
I don't really necessarily care what side it's on, especially if we can't get the water part. But I know Vice Chair Rosano is very big on no apartments on the east side. And so you guys kind of put the entertainment in one place, plopped it on the east side, which is, I know he wanted, and put townhomes in there. And I know that you probably put input from other board members that you spoke with. So I just appreciate it. It showed that you have listened to.
Very nice. Thank you. Yeah, and this project would be very similar to Miramar in terms of quality and amenities, different aesthetic. We presented some different exteriors and you can see there was a wide range of options. And, we're pretty architecturally savvy, so we can work with any of in fact, I think you all liked pretty much the same design. So that'll make it easy.
More quick thing for those listening, and it's hard to describe, but in the complex, the pool was in the center. And it was neat how you did a light study to make sure that the light goes in a certain way. The way you hid the parking garage made it like a piece of art. I thought that was great. And then you integrated 5 or 7 two-story townhouses within the complex. I thought that was unique. I haven't seen that before.
Thank you. Yeah, turned out nice.
Chair Member Schwartz.
I have a question, and I'm assuming this is the updated, when I'm looking at the summary, I'm assuming from Colliers, I'm looking up the updated, so that when I see 80,000,
We have a copy if you like.
is not the updated? Then why?
No, what you have in the presentation here is the full submittal that was provided, and because that included the financials that support it.
So let me ask you a question while he's passing that out. How much retail square footage did you have in mind?
In total, we had about 115,000 square feet, of which the vast majority was on the eastern parcel. We had the bigger parcel south of south of the most southern parcel. You can see it here. It'll be the orange one on the plan. That's kind of separate from the first multifamily phase. There's a big box there. We're thinking maybe like a Trader Joe's type, 20,000 square feet. And then we had a very small amount of retail next to where we're proposing the city hall. Again, we were flexible coffee shop, nothing that would compete next door, but just some sort of convenience, maybe. A
So
safe
this
place.
is worthless.
That's the old one. Well, if you like parts of that, we can obviously mix and match.
No, I was going to ask you a question about the retail because I had seen on this one, I believe it was 80,000 square, no, actually, I'm sorry, 87,000 square feet.
It's bigger now.
Okay, because I was going to say to you that the 2 shopping centers on the west side are 80,000 square feet, almost 90 actually, without anything being built on the east side of the street. So if that was the total amount of both sides, I was going to be concerned.
No, we agree. We think the 115s, we could talk more about it, but when you see it,
Thought I
hopefully you
had
like it.
before.
Yeah. And we have quite a bit of so not included in the 75 is the roof deck dining kind of bar area. What's not included is the large park with the walking trails. We're planning areas kind of like City Place Doral to have food trucks and activities. That's not really incorporated in the built square footage, but it adds to the kind of the lifestyle and activity of the area.
And I'm going to ask, because he's a realtor and I'm not. Tell me he's a broker, excuse me. I'm assuming broker is better than realtor. Realtors work for brokers? Okay. Did that. So that you just blew it. So that I understand, having ground leases simply on the retail as opposed to what I'm noticing that others have proposed on all of it, what's the benefit to the city?
So we're proposing a ground lease on everything.
That's changed too.
No, it was just say that it was just the way the payment was coming through the city. We suggested a really strong revenue share on the retail, so we were super aligned on that. But if you would like, we could change it. Yes. So we were going to share half of the revenue we earn. from the retail
But when
back
I
to
had
the
read
city.
that was all I saw, that there was half of the retail,
Yes.
because I went back to what Colliers put out there again, which is apparently not up to date. And I reminded myself that it simply said 50% of the retail, whereas in fact, that's what they just read also. out loud.
It was 50% for the retail, then we had a kind of fixed increasing payment on the
5% each
residential.
time.
It was a fixed dollar amount that would grow with like inflation or grow a certain percent a year, 5% a year. Yeah.
That was the 5%.
Yeah.
I'll look at the picture.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Vice Chair.
I was gonna wait till the end, but I'll let you guys know. So if you have any, when you're coming up, you could have an idea what I'm gonna talk about. And Rich and Donna, I'll address your comments under public speak. Okay, so years ago, we got into this deal with Colliers. No, Colliers, what, year and a half ago? 2 years ago? Oh, okay, and when it first was brought up to me, I wasn't a big fan of it, and I'll tell you why. I've been in development for 30 years. So my thing was, let's parcel it out, let's build it, let's hire a contractor, not a developer. We wound up going with Colliers, a developer who's gonna make some money. The developer is gonna make some money. And I get that. Everybody's entitled to make money. However, we own this property. And I'm sitting up here and I'm listening to the board, and I heard a former board member, planning and zoning, come up and made a great point, which, Rich, I'm gonna agree with you. You should be building what we want. We don't even have a plan. And I've been stressing that as a board member, as a chair. We need to design something. We need to design what the residents want. I just put a Facebook post out tonight. Nobody wants apartments. So I think we should start small so we don't get in trouble like we did last time. Start with the east side. Start with some businesses downtown that the residents want. Work with us. We'll design it. I've always stressed, along with board member Schwartz, about hiring an architect in this group, hiring an engineer, so we could design it, so we could say to you guys, this is what we want. Because to me, this isn't a negotiation. This is what we want. And if you guys don't want to build it, we'll go to the next person. I don't have a problem with that. But I have board members up here that'll sit up here and say, you know what? And no disrespect to Antonio, but you're not going to get everything you want. It's not about what you want. It's what the people want. The people don't want the apartments. They don't want it. So
Want it down, not downtown without building apartments, and if you say there's.
says who? Says you?
I think, come on, I'm a broker, you're a developer, different split.
I'm not a developer. I have developed, but I understand what you're saying. Okay.
I think if you say there's gonna be 0 apartments in this project, it's not realistic, and that's.
That's not what I said. I'm saying start small, start on the east side.
Yeah, I don't disagree, and that's why I like their phase 1 was the east side. Was they were gonna put no apartments on the east side of the town. But all of this stuff, I do agree, look, all of this stuff is all stuff on paper. We're not, I don't even know who I'm gonna pick still, but we're not voting on the plan tonight. We're voting on who we want to go down that next step and do those designs, and design what we want.
Correct.
Because I have high expectations. If it's, at the end of the day, the developer's agreement's not what I think is best for the city, I'm not voting for it.
And I'm trying to avoid that.
Yeah, no,
That's the problem we got into last time. You know, the board member Schwartz brought up a great idea. I mean, a great comment. How much retail is going over there? We've had more retail than that 15 years ago. And yet with the twice the amount of the acreage that we're going to have, we're not even getting that back in retail. So to me, I think we should start small, start on the east side, come up with a plan and present it. And if you guys wanted to build it, build it. But to sit up here and say, you know what, we're not going to get what we want, we should get what we want. The residents have been talking about this. We've been talking about it for years. I ran about this. And I'm not going to settle for something that the people that elected me don't want. They don't want apartments. So let's start small. Let's start on the east side. Maybe if they see what goes on the east side, they'll be like, you know what, we trust the commission. If they want to move with putting apartments in on the west side, the developer showed he can do it. The commissions showed that we can trust them. But to come out and pick one of these people tonight, I think it's totally unfair. So if anybody wants to say, you know what, I'll start on the east side. We'll start with shopping, dining, retail. And that's what you want to do, you have my vote. I promise you that. But if you're going to come up here and say, this is what we got, this is how much money you're going to get, timelines. I heard the word timelines. How could you have a timeline when you don't even have a project? You know, it's very hard for me as my position as a contractor / sort of developer to sit here and do this when I know what I want there. I know what the residents want. I had a vision. I gave it to the city manager, not this one, years ago. He tore it up, he threw it out. Put a lot of time into it. But there's nothing on here that I really want that the residents have spoke about. We did meetings, we did charrettes, we did everything. And it's just, we don't even have the residents aren't even here. Last time that we did this, when we approved it, I did not approve it. And if I did approve it, I will buy you lunch and dinner for a week if you show me where I was the one that voted for to move on with New Urban. But the last time, at the height of an election, a vote was taken and two members that are here right now weren't even able to attend and give their input. So to do this tonight, I think it's very premature. I want to get going with this, I really do. But to just do it with 8 residents here and going what we got, I'm just not for it. So I said my piece and that is it.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you said, and I don't want to think of it, I'm not settling with the developer. We're 5 individual commissioners. We've all run on different platforms, even this last election. Some voted on building on golf courses and won the golf course precincts. And others opposed it and won. And you all won pretty big. So it's about, we're all not going to agree 100%. What I'm saying, if I get 70%, a little more of what I think everyone else here can agree with, we all represent different people. You know, I look at it a little bit different as far as the amount of people here. Maybe they have faith in us. It was a different board back then. I wasn't even sitting up here. I was sitting over there. And 2 had just gotten on. So yeah, I understand why. And it was a horrible proposal too. So I think based on surveys that we've been doing and different things and just usually if something's going wrong, if residents don't like something, they pack the chambers. When things are going good, they don't. It's not a 2 p.m. meeting. You know, this was a 7 o'clock meeting. People know we're here. I don't even see, honestly, I don't even see our normal 10 people that show up. I see a couple, not all of them. So I don't know. I look at it as they have faith in us. You know, they're just putting together concepts. But I know this is going to change. And what is it? I think all of them said it's going to take 6 to 8 years to complete. I don't think any of us will be up here when it's finished.
I want to be alive.
And new boards don't, if they're doing this in phases, I guarantee you these plans are going to change phase 2, phase 3. So, but I understand your concerns, and I mean, I think we've done what we can. We had 6 people. I think that's more than submitted last time. Didn't only 2 submit last time?
I know I wasn't here.
Yeah, so,
Yes, they will.
yeah. You know, I know I'm not gonna say their name, but I think one group I definitely don't want was the ones that didn't fully submit, in my opinion, didn't even put financials. And I know it's hard to put financials down when you don't have the exact project, but the other 2 companies had a concept and they at least submitted some type of complete proposal. And you know what, the other thing I just want to comment on, you know, I would like to see more integrated parking. I know I brought it up at the first round. Michael's, who I think proposed way too many units with 2,500 units, but their green space was larger because they integrated all of their parking into their parking structures into the building. So it's just kind of interesting how there were, you know, 2.5 times the units, but more green space. So I like the fact that the numbers, the count, the 800, I think you guys were proposing 800.
800 was our first. This
And
one's
Brookfield
17.
900, both Brookfield and you were significantly less than 2,500,
I love it.
which I appreciate. I do appreciate. I have a different opinion on the number of units than some of the board members, but you know, there's a line that's got to be drawn, and I think the 2,500 was just way too much. But I think whoever we do select, if we can integrate the parking more, I know you can't do all of it. It's got to make dollars and cents for everyone, but
So
we
everything
can
except
kinda
for the,
free up
for the
some of that
retail.
crap.
The retail, we hid the parking behind the buildings,
okay.
but the retailers and the patrons don't typically want to park in a garage and walk. They want easy access to the retail, and it's hidden. And we have, I'm not sure if you handed out the color. There's quite a bit of green in that main boulevard for outdoor seating and dining. And so it's more green than it looks. And the green is focused on the storefront side, you know, and the parking is convenient in the back and hidden. So, and then we had the big park on the,
And then as far as the square footage or total retail, you know, New Urban, that process started a long time ago, and retail was different.
Mhm.
And retail, the demand for retail is significantly less than it was before.
Right.
And to be totally honest, I don't like when I go to some of these other cities and they got these little trinket shops just crammed in there to fill space.
Right.
And they're constantly going out of business. And so if we're gonna run lean on the retail and just put in the entertainment and the restaurants and the, family-friendly bar or steak, that's what people are looking
Right.
for. A Trader Joe's
Right.
or something like that, a coffee shop. I'm not going to downtown to buy a no-name brand, T-shirt, or a 5 times overpriced kids toy,
Right. If
like
you
in
went
one of our neighboring
at
cities.
City Place Doral, I'm sure when you walked around, you didn't see a whole lot of that. It was
No.
mostly F&B entertainment,
Correct,
coffee, grocery.
correct. So that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Don't be alarmed if you see
No, my
retail less than
assumption-
what it was
that's
years
not
ago.
my
It's,
definition of
okay.
retail.
Yeah.
That's my definition is they were talking all of those that aren't residential, which would have been the foodie, the eateries, that was my understanding
Right.
of retail.
Yes.
I was not looking at stores that sell a particular thing.
That
I'm
makes
assuming when you say 87,000 square feet of retail, you were including the entertainment.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, no, they are. No, I
Which
just
is
maybe
why I
misheard
said
you.
across the street, the 2 shopping centers we have
Could-
91,000 square feet of retail already. So I want you to understand, you already have
Right.
more than that in 2 shopping centers that you may or may not be keeping, and you're talking about putting,
But when you drive,
And the total
and no
amount-
disrespect to those businesses, and I go to some of
it's
them.
just the amount of size, I'm talking about the size.
Yeah, I know. But I don't want to compare those plazas because when you drive by, the parking lots are.
I'm just simply saying that you got 3 parcels. If the entire 3 parcels are going to have 87,000 square feet retail, you're going to have less than you have now, regardless of what it looks like. So you should understand it's less than, and you're talking about 50 acres.
I understand.
Okay.
We
But
get
like I was saying, the
150
demand for all that retail has come down over the years.
Again, retail
Yeah.
to me could be a brewery.
and the
That's
Right.
what I assumed that meant.
the blue, so overall plan has about 115. The triangular piece is 75, but what's different from the new retail versus the old is that's probably 15 to 20 tenants. So the tenants are going to be,
Large.
well, there's going to be more options. There's going to be more different retail vendors to go to than probably exist today. Yeah, yeah.
One would hope not.
Right.
Understand that of all of them sitting here, if you added the amount of years they've lived in this city, they may or may not come up to how many I had, which is 42, which means that I was sitting on the original city commission when we talked about and had the charrettes in 2002. The difference was we might not have had 50 acres. So on that chain, with that happening, maybe the 8 years of a lawsuit was a good thing because it drove up the price of the value of the land. But my conversation with the executive director, when I asked, how do you do this blind? I'm not I'm not a broker, I'm not a builder. I'm being asked to flip a coin because you can't bring us what you don't know right now.
Sure.
And it's hard for me to vote on what I've already seen kick other people in the butt. So my assumption was that this was about choosing someone to sit down and negotiate a contract with and fill in the blanks, but with the understanding that we would have meetings with the residents, because at the end of the day, they have to have buy-in. Before I'm a city commissioner, I'm a resident. I have been waiting a very long time for this to happen. I am looking for a place that I said in 1991 that Margate shouldn't be a pass-through to somewhere else, that someone would actually want to stop. So it's hard to choose which of you, because I'm sure you all have the same best interest in heart. It's just hard to do this and figure out because it's a crapshoot. We're all guessing
I
what's
agree.
going to work.
I
We're
agree
all
with that.
guessing what the rents are going to be. We're all guessing how much time it's going to take. And when I say I'd like to be able, since I was here for the beginning 20-something years ago, I would sure like to see something that I cut the ribbon on before 2028 is over with. Because I kind of feel that I've waited a very long time, as has the rest of the city. So it's hard to decide on which. I have questions for Brookside, Brookfield, thank you, that are also questions I don't understand, but I will tell you that the funny part is that some of the things that were considered negative for you, for example, that you look for high-end or, were considered positive for somebody else, and I thought that was hysterical. I mean, it either is or it isn't.
Right.
But my thing is, I read and I see the difference and I look and say, really, it's good for one, but not for the other. It makes no sense to me. So the end of the day, I'm going to have to understand, because I'm going to assume that most of the people in Margate are more like me than they are like the people who do this for a living and are going to have to understand and buy in. Because what good is it if they don't want to stop here, shop here, play here? So for me, it's difficult. And I've had this conversation even today with the executive director to figure out which of you, maybe we would like to do a 50-50 and come up with both. I have no clue because it's hard to guess.
Right.
So
All right, Joanne?
I understand that you want to do retail on one side and apartments on the other. And I understand fully that retail will not survive without apartments. Any thought into how you were going to cross 441?
Yes, so often when we have these kind of projects, we'll do traffic improvements to the extent they're warranted, including signalization, timing changes, crosswalks, typical kind of life safety issues. Ron may have a little more info on that, but we work with DOT or whichever is the,
Yeah, so one point of clarification, a selection of a developer is really a selection of a partner to work through the concept plans and the scope of the project. There are many steps that are required before a shovel is put into the ground, including involvement of the community. And it's called the site plan approval process, where the community is able to look at the architecture, the size and scale of the buildings, the landscaping, and we need to present a traffic study. Part of the traffic study will show ingress and egress from this community, from this master development. It might include crossover pedestrian crossways. It might include additional lanes that need to be opened up in your traffic. But before this project actually breaks ground, there are a lot of steps that involve the community input and approval process. I could think of at least 10 different meetings that will be required before this project is at a point where everyone accepts it and we get the green light and we're ready to go. That's why you're hearing the timelines that you're hearing, because realistically, all we're doing is selecting a partner to think of creative ideas and how do we maximize your land so that it could bring the most value to your community. So I hope that answers your question, but there are very technical processes with civil engineers where we talk about water, sewer, power, pedestrian crossways, we talk about traffic, right? All those technicalities for this community, and everyone will be able to have input. We will talk about upgrading lift stations if that existed, adding lift stations if that's needed. That's part of the process. And so I just wanted to point that point of clarity that a vote is not really a vote of architecture or anything like that. We're far from that, far from that. We're just talking about retail spaces, 115,000 square feet, how many apartment units, the size and scale of the apartment units, et cetera.
I just want to make sure that, because 441 is a major thoroughfare, as we all know, that thought is being given into how you're going to cross people from one side of the street to the other, because I haven't heard that from anybody.
I appreciate that question because that's been one of my concerns. Aside from having, in my opinion, the entertainment in one central place to give it a sense of place, I think it's also for safety, right? In their proposal, looking at it, they have it all on the east side. There is a Trader Joe's on the west side, and I don't know what the other, no, I'm not saying Trader Joe's confirmed, but something like that, a Trader Joe's concept over here.
Yeah.
Probably, but it seems like most of the people here in this concept wouldn't necessarily be crossing in the masses. But you are right. I mean, I am concerned about people crossing the four corners and three corners of the area. But I think, as you stated, as you've mentioned, as I've said, as the chair has said, we're picking someone,
That we can work with.
Negotiate.
Look, it's about trust, right? The city in general has been burned. You guys have probably been burned in the past, right? And so there's a risk. We were in a lawsuit before. You're willing to take that risk. We got to take a little bit of risk too, and select someone, and it is going to be very. And I do think at the end of the day, whoever gets selected or doesn't get selected, I think either one. In my mind, there's two up here that absolutely I think do a good job.
All right,
and
thanks, man.
we're local. We can get here in an hour, any day of the week.
All right, thanks. All right. We're going to go to Michael's next. I'm just going to ask for 5 minutes so that they can set up. So Michael's, you're ready at 8 o'clock and we'll get moving.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. Would the representative from Michael's please take the podium?
Jimmy Hancock, the Michaels Organization. Just wanted to say thank you for having us here. Thank you, Brooke and your team. For the residents who are here, I think that the parties that are here who want to build in your city say a lot about kind of Colliers leading your entire commission's vision. These are the three largest developers in the entire country, top 10. And it says a lot for this city with what you guys have done and their vision as well. I don't think what's been properly stated is that once they select a developer, the residents will have a say into what we do as a partner with everyone on this board here as well. Those meetings will take place Saturday, Sunday, night, daytime. So I don't want you to think that your voice will not be heard with which developer you choose here tonight. But again, too, a great compliment to you guys as well as Colliers for bringing these teams that are here. So we all spoke back early January. We heard what you said. We didn't resubmit. We didn't know there was a resubmittal process for anything that we had here. But again, you select a developer who you want to work with as a partner for not just day one, but throughout the entire life of the project. When we looked at it, we brought in an architect, had him actually look at a blank canvas. What would you do on this site? Here's our kind of confines of what we can do. We read the 900 max units, X number of retail, hotel, office. I think looking at everyone's proposal, I didn't see a hotel anywhere else. I think we all kind of believe that what works here is retail, apartments, and office is some component. When we met in January, I think we all kind of agree that you kind of build the east side first, see where that goes with input from everybody else, and then you kind of work your way from east to west. What we showed is not our final plan. That was our one kind of first stroke at no input from the residents, no input from you guys, except for kind of a little of a guidance of where we want to go. And we kind of showed you what we think. The first go around, we're the ones who kind of presented, let's build a new city hall and how do we do it? You guys kind of kicked that back and allowed everyone to kind of look at what we presented to kind of show in, well, what else can you do? We showed a library. Library probably doesn't work, but we, if we're going to take one away, let's not how about we replace it? Maybe the city wants one, maybe they don't, but we're going to work together and figure it out. Nothing that we dictated is final. In terms of financials, my financials came in too late to present by the deadline that we needed, but the financials for everyone else is the same. We all pay the same impact fees. We pay the same permit fees, the same percentage rent we can negotiate, same, ground lease can negotiate as well. The CRA funds, we tried to show no use of those except for the public spaces. But if we're going to do garages and where we decide to negotiate, we'll ask for more of those dollars on a go forward. But those are everything that we'll negotiate. So I think if you guys said no apartments on this site, we'd be happy to be the master developer and bring in a retail only or entertainment developer and help them execute your dream. We would like to build housing here. There's a certain number that'll work. I don't think 2,300 units is going to work. We literally just showed what can you max out a site with. We showed you guys what we could do. Put the townhomes in the backside. We also included the assisted living facility, which was in bankruptcy, included in our numbers as well. So that included everything is there too. I think with that, I'm happy to open up the questions. And if there's any other questions, we weren't able to meet. I think you were on holiday and during January. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer as well.
Yeah, I think I did hear you say that you would be okay with not putting apartments on the east side. Is that correct?
Wide open. Listen, everything's negotiable. If we can go on the west side, and it depends on however we decide to master plan the site, we're here as partners. We are multifamily developers. We can build retail as well, civic components too. If you guys said no apartments, we could still be a part of the program and bring in another partner for that. But we'd like to build housing here. And we can come up with a number that makes sense.
All right, and I appreciate that. And I like what you said at the beginning to each of the developers. And I just want, no matter who we pick tonight, if you guys all agree that nothing on the east, you have my vote. I said that. I don't know how it's going to work out, but I think that we should give them the justice. And once this is over, we move rapidly with the meetings, with whatever we have to do to make it fair. Because if there's one hinge that we don't like, next. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you.
I was at Sharky's for dinner and everyone there had no idea this was happening tonight. Yeah. And so I think the general consensus from the residents too is they want to be part of it as well. I know that not everyone knows you guys, CRA is every second Wednesday of the month. As a developer and as partners, we all make ourselves available any time of the week, weekends, Monday, in the morning and at night. So we want everyone's input to make this thing bright. And if we're going to do what I think we're going to do is start with the triangle piece on the east side, we need to hit a home run because once you build that dream, everything else comes in. So if it works, it works. If that thing's an epic failure, you guys want to move elsewhere as well. And so we all kind of look, well, we didn't do it right. So we want to hit it right.
Board Member Schwartz?
So just out of curiosity, how much square footage do you see as far as, and by retail, I mean all of it. I'm not
Yeah.
specifying whether it's a store or it's a brewery or, or it's a nightclub. What do you see?
Is that the entire project? Is that only the east side?
No,
Because
I've seen,
because the plans have kind of fluctuated to where at one point, let's do everything. And at one point, it's like, let's leave the Ace Hardware Margate Center alone,
That's
right?
been
So you
talked
kind of
about.
ignore that and you carve that out. So in terms of new square footage that we would add, we had proposed in the original one, I believe, something like, I think it was 80,000 on the east side. We had a grocer on the ground floor. We had an entertainment concept over there as well. And then you lined the Margate Boulevard with it too. So I think maximum here, to be honest, is probably 100,000 new retail square footage. And that would include hopefully a grocer, entertainment, and in between retail as well, so dry and wet retail.
actually, would propose 2,257,000 of retail. I don't think. it
Well,
was
that included everything. So we're looking at just east side. And then the other side too.
And I just happen to be a proponent of seeing a city hall and a library and a community center on that side because I think it does no justice where it is now in the front of Margate Boulevard is the back hall. So that's always been a bone of contention.
We-
So
we
I
all
happen to
spend
like
time-
that idea.
I mean, you said the first time we were here that this building was antiquated when they built it.
Right.
And we've all spent time here. And you definitely need a new city hall. You need a new police station as well.
Yeah.
So
We,
it's,
we outgrew it before we even moved it, probably. Yeah. Out of curiosity, just so that I know, is there some place local that I could see one?
my company's based out of Camden. We build throughout
Yeah.
the country. In South Florida, we don't have anything that we've built in terms of mixed use. My previous firm that I ran, you can see my projects, but not under the Michael's umbrella.
Gotcha.
So you can go to California if you would like to.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, then thank you. And take a deep breath and then it's your turn. Brookfield, yes. I went in reverse alphabetical order.
Good evening, Frank Frelichardi with Brookfield. It's great to see many of you again, some of you for a second or third time. Big important decision to make. We don't take it lightly. Candidly, a lot of the discourse tonight, it's not uncommon. We deal with it all the time. It's part of a healthy process. Everyone has different perspectives. That's what makes a great place, right? The ability to take all those, consolidate them, and produce a project that speaks to the needs, wants, desires of all members of the community. And candidly, that's what Brookfield excels at. That's what we're really good at. It's what we've done a lot of. I will sort of echo a lot of the sentiments you heard from, the other groups tonight, which, again, really, you have great choices no matter where you land here, but flexibility is the key. This is a starting point. While we put a lot of, sort of effort, thought, and, sort of research behind the proposal we put forth, it was just a starting point, and we're more than happy to continue discussions about design, flexibility, changing sort of locations of residential retail, integrating other uses in the future. So should they become viable? So, I do want to just emphasize that, like everyone else, flexibility is the key here. One thing that I think became clear to us after meeting with you folks numerous times was that the focus on retail and entertainment retail, F&B retail, especially on the east side, was really important. And so we put a lot more thought into just sort of how do we execute that? Our initial proposal had a mix of uses on the east side. We're comfortable increasing the amount of retail on the east side and potentially even just doing retail on the east side if that's what the collective group thinks makes the most sense. We do think multifamily is an important part of any project in today's world, though, because it is the most stable product type. If you look at sort of real estate cycles, residential multifamily has generally been the most consistent from a valuation standpoint. It is what helps sort of keep companies afloat when the office market tanked, when the retail market was soft. So we do think it's important. But we are also very flexible in fluctuating the amount of that residential. We do tend to target projects that are sort of in that 300 unit range just because there's operational efficiencies that come with that. But it doesn't mean that, you know, we can't modify where that's located within the city, within the project area, and, you know, come to a conclusion that works best for everyone. So, so again, very similar to, you know, related in Michael's in that we can work together to figure out what makes the most sense. On the retail front, you know, as I said, Brookfield does, you know, we sort of touch all product types, and we have a massive retail group. When we initially proposed, we were 40,000 feet of retail, give or take, in our initial proposal, with the ability to expand that retail at the base of any of the residential buildings. But if we take a harder look at what's happening on the east side and really focus on sort of emphasizing retail there, we have the ability, and it's just sort of ironic because we're in the process right now, actually, of sort of reimagining and re-tenanting all of our F&B down at Merrick Park and Coral Gables. Markets change, tenants change, and, you know, just for what it's worth, you know, Brookfield happens to be the biggest landlord for a number of sort of familiar names like Chick-fil-A, like Shake Shack, and the Darden Restaurant Group, who owns, you know, Ruth Chris, Capitol Grill, Eddie V's, Yard House. These are all groups that we're talking to now that would love to be here, and would help sort of anchor a really nice retail F&B center. And we are, you know, sort of more than happy to make that pivot and, again, expand that retail presence, really try to create that place, and, you know, I think respond more directly to what the community is looking for. Food and beverage,
Yeah.
yes, apologies. Yes, that's correct. Yep.
In college, I worked for Darden.
Oh, you did?
And they have a wide range, and you mentioned some really good ones. No offense to Darden, but you know, with my expectations, I'm not looking for like the Olive Garden.
Sure,
I'm looking for like the Yard House and
Capitol
you know,
Grill, maybe.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's pretty impressive, their portfolio, and they continue to acquire more. So, you know, it's just it's an example. Like, everyone has
No.
great retail relationships in this room, but, you know, it just happens to be good timing. We're sort of across the country, sort of reimagining all of these lifestyle centers that are in our portfolio. Tenants are looking for different things, and it's why it's important to have a good partner, because even on the retail side, every restaurant deal you do, it's really a partnership deal. You know, they're very high touch, very high maintenance. And so you need a group with the experience that works with these folks every day to be able to create that place such that you don't, you know, create a box, put them in, and then they go out of business, and you're just left with an empty, you know, sort of desolate center. So, you know, we're more than capable of delivering that for Margate, and we're, you know, obviously very, very excited about the opportunity to do that. You know, the last thing I will say, I mean, a lot we can talk about here and welcome questions, but the last thing I did want to just mention is that, you know, Brookfield does actually have a really expansive presence in Florida. You know, because we touch all product types, logistics, hospitality, residential, office, you know, there's over 300 Brookfield employees that live and work in Florida. We don't currently have a corporate office in this region, but should we be selected for a project like this, we're bringing in local talent that's going to, you know, be on call to manage the project, to interact with the city and, you know, on a day-to-day basis. So I just want to emphasize the fact that, you know, that's sort of how we operate. Easy to pivot, bring in resources where needed just to make sure things are executed well. And, you know, ultimately that's what we excel at, is just executing on large scale, complex long-term development, and look forward to the opportunity to do that here. So with that, I thank you. And I know you have a difficult choice, but happy to answer any questions.
I'd like to start off by saying that I've had the opportunity to see 3 of your locations. And they're gorgeous. The related group, I saw one of their places, which is gorgeous too, which is gorgeous. I mean, like we talked about in the beginning, there's some beautiful stuff that you guys have done. It's a tough choice. Like I said, I've seen 3 of your places.
Thank you.
And at distances from each other. And it was a great trip to see them, but it was also awesome to see them and to see how you did it. Just like you guys over there at Related had, it's just, it's something that Margate really needs. And the one thing that always is important to me is that we've had in this city too many times, businesses open up business and die, open up and die. Sometimes in the same unit, in our plazas. And I firmly believe that there needs to be residential there to be able to keep them alive during the day, so that there's people there shopping in them and not just hoping that they shop there after 5 o'clock or on a Saturday and Sunday.
That's right.
So that to me is very important. You guys do great work.
Thank you.
Wow. Vice Chair?
So would you be opposed to not putting any apartments on the east side?
We would be open to, yeah, we would be open to.
Okay, because I got to say, I keep hearing rooftops support businesses, but if you're home 12 o'clock on a Monday, your ass should be out working. That's the way I feel.
Yeah, but people work nights too. That's why we have bars open. We let them open till 4 o'clock because not everybody works 9 to 5.
I understand that, but to put a nighttime spot there during the week, I don't think that's what the board up here is actually looking for. Maybe I'm not speaking correctly, but I like that you guys will be amendable. I think every one of you can do this project, and probably my decision is probably going to be based on, because I'm a builder and Florida has some strict codes. So it's probably going to be a company that is familiar with the building code here in Florida. I'll be honest with you.
Fair.
I want to move this as fast as possible. And like I said, I don't want to have any hiccups. And for somebody who has, I don't know if you guys have projects here in the state of Florida.
We do.
They have
Yeah.
properties around locally, but not like city centers. It's like rental, because I've seen them pop up when I was doing that.
Got it. So to me, that's going to weigh heavy too, the guys
Yeah.
that have built down here and familiar with the code down here. And I like you talked about the restaurants because we need a destination area. Right down the street, we have the Harrah's being built with over, I think, 2,500 units. Coconut Creek is building units. So to me, it's not really about the units. It's about getting what we want here that people will come to. You mentioned some great restaurants. If any of you have a connection with Pop Stroke, that would be incredible. So Longhorn, I mentioned that. I heard that.
That's on my.
But I mean, that's, you go to those places like Longhorn and even the one up here, I don't even know what it's called in Creek. Cal went there for his birthday. There's a line, there's a 2-hour wait every time you go there. So I think that if we put the right places there, and whoever can bring the right places, I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Great.
Thank you.
For sure. And just quick on the sort of local building knowledge piece of it, I will say we probably sometimes take for granted sort of the baseline level of knowledge when we have these discussions. And I think, Related made a great point talking about the traffic studies. Like when we think about a project like this, we have to figure out how to make the traffic work or the project won't work. So we just intuitively assume all of these things are going to fall into place the way that we've done them dozens and dozens of times. And, it's a huge concern of yours, but we know that there's solutions to the problem. And it's similar when I think about building in Florida or building in Texas or building in California, it's just what we do. So not to say that, building codes aren't super important, but it's kind of table stakes, right? It's like we do it everywhere. And to the extent it's a concern, it just shouldn't be, because when you're at the sort of level of commercial development that we're talking here, we're employing the sort of best and brightest to execute these projects. So, I understand your comment and it's a fair one, but I do think that, it's less of a concern.
Also have the county, you have to deal with South Florida Water Management District, the county.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more hurdles. That's all I'm getting.
No, I get it. I appreciate it.
Board Member Schwartz?
Out of curiosity, the shops at Merritt Park, is that something you built or something you managed?
It was, we did.
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear what you said.
I asked of the shops at Merritt Park. I wasn't able to go visit when everyone else went up to New York because I got sick. So I have not seen your projects, and I haven't been in Meisner in a long time, but I don't believe you built that anyhow. I believe you manage it. So I'm questioning of whether the shops at Merritt Park, which are in Coral Gables,
Yep.
is something that you built.
Yeah, both Merrick and Meisner were previously built and acquired by Brookfield. I will say when it comes to the sort of retail lifestyle centers, you're sort of constantly revamping, retenanting, but we did not, in fairness,
Because I
we
would
did
have
not
liked to
construct the.
seen something, and I would actually have driven to Coral Gables, the horror, from here to go see that, because it's unfair. But I never got to
Yeah.
physically go and do, and I'm glad to hear what the chair has said, because he did visit a number of your properties, because
Yep.
that's the only way I can hear about them.
Understood. And, obviously invitation's always open, regardless of what happens tonight. We'd be happy to have you anytime. So.
And Arlene, it's a little joke, but I love balconies because I believe that balconies are like an extra room for people, and they have both of them are both related, and Brookfield have just amazing balconies because people sit out there and relax. You can't. I know the thing that bothers you about Arbor hate. You hate the fact that they have fake balconies.
The fact that the balcony doesn't even take a shoe.
Right. But
It's not a balcony.
Related has balconies that they can have dogs walking and
And barking. I have
and
to say.
Brookfield has this just nice size, width as well as length. And it's really important to me because it's important to be able to, on a nice day, to be able to actually sit outside and enjoy where you live. We're in Florida to enjoy where we live.
what
And-
Florida rooms are,
And to me,
so they can close them.
it's really, what's really important, everybody talks about, live, work and play, live, work and play, live, work and play. But we have to make it so that people want to live, work and play and people want to invest. And we have three groups in front of us that want to invest in our city. And we have to pick the one that's going to be able to let us live, work and play and have it work their investment also.
I think we all agree with that.
Board Member Rosario?
Yeah, thank you. I saw two projects from Related. I saw two projects from Brookfield, both incredible. I really enjoyed when we were in New York, going to your corporate office. The building is incredible. And I know I saw some comments when people saw the article that we went to New York. I'm trying to bring New York style development down here. So anyone that is filming and exaggerate.
I'd love to bring New York quality down here.
But when you were talking about, you know, the building codes and stuff, I believe we were there, the three of us. And I remember, and I forget if it was at the corporate office or if it was at the, I think it was at your corporate office where you built under the train, over the train, right?
It's at Manhattan West, yeah, that's.
So they actually had to like build the building with a. This
That's
is where
right.
you come
That's
in
right.
as the contractor, kind of like a center rod or thing, right? And then it was built around to allow the trains to go under. So I'm like, man, if they.
You built over a New York City subway? I'm from Manhattan.
Yeah, it's the rail yard on the west side. It's
Okay,
it's
the rail
effectively
yard.
like a bridge structure that supports that entire
Yeah,
complex.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
there's no question that you guys are capable. So it's a tough decision. You know, at the end of the day, and I've said this before, but it's like right now we're picking a partner.
Mhm.
You know, it's going to be a relationship, and how we're going to be able to negotiate, talk to who we're going to work best with. I think you guys would do a great job. I think Lady could do leaning towards someone that has more of a footing here. I've always enjoyed relationships where the person is in the same region as me versus like a long-term relationship with someone that's very far away. That's kind of it, but you know, it's a tough decision. I think whoever we select, they're going to do a great job, and I look forward to supporting them.
And you know, they have projects down here in Florida. Yeah.
I know that they have projects here. But the other company is based here.
Mhm.
So for me, that's a big deal.
Yeah, but a breakup is hard. You're picking a partner you haven't dated yet.
Well, this next step is the dating process.
That's it.
I know.
Keeping it PG.
No.
That's it.
Yeah. Board Member Simone, is there anything you'd like to ask?
Not at this time, thank you.
I'd like to make well, I can't make the motion, but I'd like
Yeah.
someone to make a
I'll
motion.
make a motion.
Okay.
Yeah, you could, I don't want to, yeah.
No, thank you.
I'm gonna give it a shot here. Sound like a broken record, but I think everyone did a great job, and it just really shows how interested people are in Margate, that we have the three biggest companies in the country, arguably the top 10 for sure. So I think that's
And
incredible.
regardless, thank
And
you.
Yeah.
And again,
And-
thank you to
and-
Colliers for showing that we were all
And
serious.
as the vice chair said, it doesn't work out early on, see you later, on to the next one. And I hope that, just to keep everyone on their toes, if you're not selected tonight, you could be down the road. So whoever is selected, make sure you continue to bring your A game. But I want to make a motion to negotiate, partner with a related group.
Looking for a second. Motion dies for not having a second.
I'll second that for discussion. Can you guys come back for 1 second?
Related.
Yeah, related. You guys have your projects locally?
We do.
If you just explain them real quick again, what they are, so the people out there can just hear.
Sure. So Related is a Florida-based developer. We're headquartered out of Coconut Grove in Miami. We have somewhere around 80 current projects, with the majority of them in Florida, specifically South Florida. We have 3 divisions, which includes related development, the division that the 3 of us are in, which is the mixed use development, including rental apartments. We also have the high-end condominium business, which has projects, St. Regis condos in Brickell, condos in Fisher Island, on the beach up in Boynton, lots of condos, Brickell, and then the division that really founded the company, which is our affordable housing division. We probably have 50+ projects here in South Florida, including if you go to Brickell or downtown Miami, we'll probably at least a 10th or 20% of the skyline.
Got it. I appreciate that. And,
The property that I believe most of us toured, I don't know who went or not, because we went separately, but was the Manor piece in Miramar. You didn't do all of Miramar, but you did that Manor building.
Correct.
which is incredible.
And we bought it from the city of Miramar in a process similar to this.
And then, the Doral.
Yes, that's right. And if I could, you mentioned the east side having no residential. Our new plan only has 25 townhomes, which we're happy to minimize or get rid of. Not only are we a developer that work with contractors, understand the code, we actually have an in-house construction company. In fact, Ron's prior life, he worked for Balfour Beatty, a general contractor. You mentioned Merrick Park. We developed Merrick Park along with the Rouse companies. What you might not know is Merrick Park's not just retail, it has also an apartment component. We built the apartments. And we built over a train in downtown Miami.
And you were the ones that proactively resubmitted
Yes.
and no apartments on the east side.
We had 25 towns, but again, happy to. Yeah, we got excited, couldn't help ourselves.
all right, I appreciate that. And, I'm going to take the advice of our Realtor up here, and I'll second it, and we'll see what happens, guys.
Great. Thank
Wish
you very much.
everybody the best. So.
Thank you.
So at this point, if I wanted to make. Get your attention. I have no dog in this race. I seriously don't. One group I saw, I talked to over Zoom and saw some pictures. Me, it would be flip a coin. I think any one of the 3 of you are excellent, and we really appreciate the fact that you're going to help put Margate on the map regardless of who does it. About time. Sometimes you just do something for a gut feeling. My gut feeling would be to amend motion and put Brookfield.
I'll second. There's been,
Excuse me. So yeah, you have a motion. So you're essentially amending it to provide for a different developer. So the amendment would now go forward. And at some point in time,
I think this would be a good time.
I think you should.
Point of order, though, usually we vote on the amendment and then we vote after the change. So usually the
Correct.
public doesn't speak on the amendment, just the final product.
Correct.
right, I was just making
Okay.
that reminder.
Okay. So, we have an amendment to the motion. Please call the roll on the amendment.
Board Member Schwartz, Board Member Serio,
Nope.
Board Member Simone,
Yes.
Vice Chair Vazano.
I'm going to say no. The only reason is because, I think keep our money in Florida at this point. Eventually, you guys might get a chance, but I like Board Member Serio said, so.
Chair Casciano.
Yes.
So now you have an amended motion to authorize negotiations with Brookfield.
Now we have the public.
I
Public?
had a quick comment,
Go ahead.
now that we've made some adjustments here. I appreciate you guys relating.
No, this is a hard choice.
It's a very hard choice. And, I lost sleep thinking about who I'm going to decide. It was in 6 years plus I've been up here, it's one of the few times I really didn't know until the very last moment. I had liked the idea of local better, but I want this project to have full support. To me, this is important. I'm not downplaying tonight, but the real test is going to be the process and that final development agreement.
Absolutely.
And that's where my trust really needs to be earned. So, I'm going to support Brookfield on it. But the others that aren't selected, like I said, don't go anywhere because I expect Brookfield, they're one of the best to bring their A game. But at the end of the day, I want, I want the project to have.
Half of my life. You look angry.
Okay, first off, congratulations to Colliers for bringing us excellent developers' interest, excellent caliber of developers. Amazing. It's very impressive. Secondly, Vice Chair mentioned this, and I'm surprised that it didn't become an issue to be asked of each one of them. Because in whatever you approve now, both the city and the CRA individually should have veto power over whatever agreement is made to be included in veto power over the final design. And should the CRA or city have to exercise that veto power, it means then the contract would become null and void and that the city would have the right to move on and move back to one of the other developers. And my final recommendation would be, I would have recommended Related Group only because they are local. They have a local reputation that is more important to them locally, more also political affiliations. And I think it would have been a much stronger choice to stay with a developer who is local to Florida. I think it would have been a much smarter choice. But any one of the three is a good choice, but I would have voted for Related Group. And whatever is done now, I hope that this board will then start workshop meetings and to create meetings to try and create a cohesive vision. Because what you guys have done and what you have put them through to try and come up with something without you supplying a coordinated vision was absolutely wrong. And we should be doing that. And I spoke even years before that this board should have an architect, should have an engineer, should have even an experienced developer to bring advice. So the idea was, well, we can't put that on the CRA because that's against our rules and our charter. And I never said that they had to be a voting member. They should be sitting right here, right up front, and having your ear to give you additional experience. For example, I'd like to speak to the developers in Coral Springs, find out what went right and what went wrong, and bring in additional experiences that you people don't have. So get busy and start workshop meetings and get additional advice because you need it. But again, I would have voted for Related Group.
I agree with almost everything the vice chair said tonight about our city's vision. How are you going to decide on this based on your emotions? Will you rank these developers and decide based on facts? Have you read the reviews of these developers? They're horrific. Have you even spoke to any cities or entities that have worked with these developers to get their feedback? These proposals do not address the needs or wants of residents. They're heavily focused on providing new rental housing, which can be eligible for the live local, whereas permanent housing such as condos and townhomes are not required to be live local. None of these proposals have enough parking for Margate residents to utilize if there were ever to be an event downtown. All these proposals need to increase parking by several hundred and upwards of more than 1,000 spaces. We currently have large events downtown, and much of that parking will be taken away to build this project. There needs to be more retail integrated in the ground floors and housed in above to give it a Main Street feel. And nice job of keeping the public in the dark on Related's new proposal. It was not included in the backup, nor was it shown on these displays. For Related Group, where's the location of the library and police department? I like how they gave us the most green space and the largest park at close to 2 acres, and that park should include an amphitheater with covered stage. I do like their proposal with the most retail, where we split the income 50-50. That way, Margate residents share a vested interest to keep our money in Margate by shopping downtown. I like the designs of their past projects, Manor Broken Sound, followed by the City Place Doral, and can picture either of those two looks in our downtown. Michael's narrowing of Margate Boulevard to one lane each direction can be catastrophic, with including the most units without enough parking for even the City Hall. And Brookfield doesn't have enough parking for residents who live outside of downtown to come and enjoy the amenities and events. Their illustration literally has a sign on the building that says the apartments. The designs lack character and look more like student housing than a downtown. They add water and lakes to the east side next to the ALF, which make the ALF property more desirable and valuable for that property owner and less likely to sell when they can rent it as apartments and sell as condos. If the city ever acquires that property, it will not make a desirable view for the new downtown residents to overlook a lake with a parking lot on the other side. And what's missing is the City Hall and Police Department. Is that where the ALF is now? Will we even ever get that property? Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. I've been doing a lot of thinking about this in the past couple of weeks because I've been able to, being that we've been waiting 20 years for this, and I'm a resident here for 35 years, a couple of things that I am looking for is nobody ever mentioned anything about performance metrics, penalties, delays, or anything for non-compliance. We ran into that once before. So I think we need to cover something like that in the contract when you're sitting down and talking and putting things like that in. Ideally, a successful downtown should integrate both essential civic functions and vibrant entertainment, and that's including retail also. The Civic Center provides a foundation for the community life, while the restaurants and the entertainment create a dynamic, engaging atmosphere. A well-planned development will create synergy between these elements and maximizing their combined impact. A good civic center can also have spaces for community events, which can also be used for entertainment. So considering that we've been waiting about 20 years for downtown, both aspects are highly desired. The Civic Center solidifies the city's core, while entertainment will draw the people in to the city. The best approach, I think, is to ensure that the Civic Center is functional, well integrated within a lively and attractive mixed-use development. Therefore, rather than viewing them as mutually exclusive, we need to make it look like it's more productive to consider how they can complement each other and create a thriving, sustainable downtown, because that's what we need, a thriving, sustainable downtown that will bring us into the next part of the phase. Thank you very much.
This thing died.
What's that?
Just so you're aware that it died.
What happened?
It no longer works, so if I wanted to say something, you would have no idea. So.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, now it's back. Okay.
I have to agree with Tommy. The residents do want retail. They do want restaurants and everything like that. We do need like a, another store here other than Publix and things like that. But we do need something like that. And as far as going with a developer that wants to put more apartments and townhomes and things like that, that's not what the residents want. And I hope that you all sitting up there will get the residents involved in this decision, because we're the ones that are paying the taxes and helping it out. So please involve the residents and see what they want. Don't plan meetings in the daytime where you know that the residents can't come. They work. They got bills to pay. So please give us more retail for our downtown and more restaurants. We do not have restaurants in this city. We have fast food, and we don't want that. We want good restaurants, steakhouses, other things, sports bars, whatever you want to do, but that's what we really want. So please, let's involve our residents.
Yeah.
Wanted the public to be over, so that you understand, unless I'm wrong and the city attorney, the CRA attorney will tell me so. We just voted for a blank canvas. We did not vote for units. We did not vote for how much retail. We did not vote for where it's going to be. We voted to work with someone who's going to listen to the residents and try and put together a plan we all want to see. So it's not a matter of where City Hall is going to be or if and when. It's a matter of who we think we can talk to see if that's viable. And so I will explain why I did not vote for the people who are in Florida, because I'm hoping that the people who aren't want to make a really big splash and do something unique that will put them on the map as well as us. If that doesn't work and the contract doesn't work out, we will move on, and it won't be like getting second place. It'll just simply mean that there wasn't a meeting of the minds, but we did not decide what would be where and how much of it. All we did was decide there's someone we will sit down with, who will speak with the residents and come up with something everyone can live with and be proud of. And if I'm wrong, then tell me so. Okay, that's what this meeting was about. Simply that.
Vice Chair?
Yeah, Arlene, you nailed it. You did. You did really well with what you just said. And, you know, when I came in here tonight, I had no clue who I was going to vote for. So, you know, I thought that the local guy would be good, but you just really made a great point. If somebody's from another state, let them say, hey, this is what we did in the city of Margate.
Good morning.
That was my first thought when I met with these guys and saw that the work that they did. And I said, wow, what an opportunity to plant their flag in this kind of building, of this kind of redevelopment and look, we've been, in different ways, we've been lucky enough to have the first Culvers and it worked out with our spreading. We had the first Wawa
Mm-hmm.
and they're spreading well, I'm hoping that these guys give us the same type of product and then their name is in South Florida too. No disrespect to anybody else because you guys are amazing too. And so don't let us down because number 2 is number 2.
Yeah, and just like Board Member Osorio said, wish you guys the best. I'm sure you're going to get it now, and I don't want to be the only one to vote against it. I did that once before, and I was applauded for it, but this time I'm not going to do it. So I wish you guys the best. I'm going to be the first one to congratulate you guys and look forward to it. And Kale, can we, at each one of our city events that we do, you know, have something, you know, just letting everybody know what's going on and just input and just whatever we can get.
We will work on a variety of ways to get community input that we can incorporate with our partner that we're selecting. Yeah.
That's great, because this is something every one of us here is passionate about. If you're not passionate about it, we wouldn't be sitting up here. We ran elections, and this was probably one of the biggest things we ran on. So we all want to see the best for the city of Margate. We know what kind of the residents want. So, you know, we're just the voices for them, and guys, wish you the best. God bless.
All right, so I'm gonna ask you to call the roll. I don't see anybody else for the public.
So the motion is to authorize negotiations with Brookfield and bring forth a development agreement back to the CRA board.
Okay, let's call the roll.
Board Member Schwartz.
Yes.
Board Member Serio.
Yes.
Board Member Simone.
Yes.
Vice Chair Rosano.
Yes.
Chair Casciano.
Yes, don't let us down.
Yes.
Don't let us down. We've been through that before. We're gonna have board member comments. Antonio?
I'm just so excited to see light at the end of the tunnel. We all at different stages have ran on this through multiple elections with different opinions, and we all got to the same result. It's nice to see a 5-0 support. I've sat on the other side in times past, met with, I don't even know, countless developers, not just the 6 that submitted, but many, many, many others. And that's kind of how Kale came across Colliers. We met with another developer that did something in Deerfield, and then you did some due diligence and found out about Colliers and brought them in. So it's just been a big team effort for everyone up here. It would be nice when the phase 1 is built that a dedication plaque is done with the commissioners that voted for this project, because some may not be here when the ribbon's cut, just because of term limits and stuff like that.
No.
just-
As it
and
happens,
it's-
there is a city ordinance that says that those who were here when it was approved, and those who were here when the ribbon is actually.
Have a
cut
split,
should have-
right.
But I would like to live long enough until, before 2028 is over,
No.
to be here and actually cut it, just saying.
Now.
We all
you
hope to
know,
live at least to
I did
2028.
like vice chair's thought about a head bust, that would be pretty cool, but that would probably be over the top. So a plaque is good. But
Each one
anyways,
with a singular one or?
yeah.
A plaque is fine.
So anyways, thank you for everyone that submitted. Thank you to staff. Thank you to the executive and assistant executive director. And thanks to all of us that some of you ran to overturn the contract. I know when I got on, I was stuck with the lawsuit. So it was challenging, as my constituents are saying, why aren't you doing anything about the downtown? And I couldn't. It was locked up in a lawsuit for 7 years. So just really excited, everyone. That's it.
Board member Simone.
Thank you to Colliers. Thank you for all the developers who came out tonight and gave your presentations. I greatly appreciate it. Congratulations to Brookfield, and I look forward to working with you.
As I said in the beginning, I'm really excited about this. Board member Schwartz and I got elected against the previous project. People talk about us in all these units and units. They forget that we voted against.
968 3-story walk-ups in a strip mall.
That was one of the first things that we did. They forget about that. And
That was what the east side was going to be.
the thing is that we need this project. The city needs this project. The city deserves this project. And as I shared before, it's not just live, work, and play. It's live, work, play, and we're all invested in it. So for those of you that weren't picked, guys, gals, you guys were amazing. Loved your projects. But I kind of like the idea of someone putting a flag in here and saying, we want to show the rest of the state what we're doing. And so that's one of the reasons. Plus, I've seen 3 of their projects, which are just stunning. And Margate can use some stunning. So thank you.